Once again, here in the Philippines to Asia and to the world, good evening. Welcome to the second series of Right to Believe, the youth segment. Last Saturday, we had an exciting discussion with our guest from the Philippines with Mr. Leonard Faustino and Mr. Prince Carmel Acosta. From Nepal, we had Mr. Krishna Bataray, Ms. Agnes Giri, and Mr. Sabin Kumar Kanal. And we were also joined by Dr. Bimal Rai from India.
So I would like to introduce to you our guest tonight in this second series. From Philippines, we have Mr. Jason Villasin of the Bahamian Youth for Peace. From India, we have Mr. Piyush Tripathi and Mr. Dinesh Aman. From Nepal, we have Mrs. Jintu Khanal. And from Mongolia, we have Mr. Nyamka Dorz.
Before going over to our guest speaker for tonight, allow me to explain once more the purpose of the show in a more direct and focused point. We all know that it is our basic freedom of religion, and the right to believe and practice a faith of our choice is protected by the United Nations and by law in most nations of the world. Yet, when this basic right is threatened, it is of our common interest to defend that right, whether we are the victim or the third party. There is a specific case in the United States, in particular at the Washington, D.C. court, that which is violating this very right to believe. This case relates to the unification movement. Dr. Yeonjin Moon had been appointed heir in 1998 by its founder, the late Reverend Sun Myung Moon. He led the movement together with his faith for over a decade. However, in the final years of the founder's life, others vying for power began rising and creating tension. With this passing, the late teachings with the with the late founders with this passing of the late founder, his wife, Mrs. Hak Jahan Moon, moved to alter the founder's sacred teachings in, instate a different theology that would make her the central leader and form a separate religion altogether. With this, the schism of the movement was solidified. Mrs. Hak Jahan Moon claims to be the only begotten daughter and at a time claimed to be the wife of God through a blessing or marriage ceremony, titles which only appeared after the husband's depart. She claimed that she is fulfilling the mission of Reverend Moon, which was left undone, and wanting the entire membership to adhere to its, including her children. She denies the appointment of Dr. Yeonjin Preston Moon and refused to recognize his leadership as the rightful heir to his father's work. However, Dr. Yeonjin Moon and many followers of Reverend Moon, without going into many more details, I want to make it abundantly clear that this lawsuit was brought to the court by the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, Universal Peace Federation, and Unification Church, Japan directly against Dr. Yeonjin Preston Moon because he refused to submit to this new personality cult and new theology that deviated from the original vision and mission taught by Reverend Sun Myung Moon. There are tens and thousands of others worldwide who also stand by Dr. Moon and by Reverend Moon's original teaching and lifelong work for world peace and unity. The main point to make clear here is that the case in Washington, D.C. court is religious in nature and is one brought about by one side of schism to force submission and punish Dr. Moon for following his conscience and practicing what he truly believes is his father's legacy. Ironically, the reality that many of us here believe is that it was Dr. Yeonjin Moon, the elder son, that was trained for over a decade directly by by his father, the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, of the providential direction of his mission. On July 19, 1998, at the Manhattan Center Ballroom in New York City, the Reverend and Mrs. Sun Myung Moon inaugurated their son to carry out the mission of Reverend Moon, revealed in a resounding speech of the Reverend Moon, declaring the era of the fourth Adam. As Jesus is the second Adam, Reverend Moon is the third Adam, and Dr. Yeonjin Moon as the fourth Adam. He also declared the beginning of the father-son cooperation and the beginning of the children's era, highlighting that though his son's inauguration, their children can now join them in their providential mission. As Dr. Yeonjin Moon in his acceptance speech mentioned, it has always been my life's goal to ultimately aid my parents to build God's kingdom here on earth, through the formation of God-centered families. And with this appointment, I can finally join them in their crusade. Since the time on, I have seen Dr. Yeonjin Moon. He never changed a bit in his commitment to his father. Since that inauguration, Dr. Yeonjin Preston Moon has never ceased to work in bringing the message of one family under God in all the corners of the earth. His programs have empowered professionals of the different fields and built lasting friendship with the leaders in the interfaith, media, education, governance, business, and economy. And most especially, he has invested tremendously among the youth of the world, preparing them for the future to possess moral and innovative leadership, and to promote the creation of a global culture centered on true love. Or among hundreds and thousands of youth, this is more popularly known as the culture of heart. And these cultures are the following: the culture of living for the greater good, culture of ownership to God's dream of building one family under God, the culture of teamwork, regardless of race, nationality, ethnicity, and belief. We are all one family of God, so we should cooperate, support, and work together. And the fourth one is the culture of dream big, to aspire for one's fullest potential as child of God, to create a value in the contribution for the fulfillment of one world family of God. And I am so privileged to be one of those youth leaders in the Philippines then, touched and inspired by not only his charismatic leadership and messages, but his actual training to the young people, as he taught that experiential method of education is more enriching and powerful than cognitive form of education. So he put us on an adventure workshop in Alaska, in Montana, in Seattle, and many more places, particularly in America, as well as fishing workshops. He sent young people from around the world to experience enriching community projects in the different continents of the world, to develop our love for humanity and develop our individual character. After all, character is the key to becoming a leader, as he taught us. It is for this reason today of why young people of Asia are coming out to condemn the misuse of the US courts by groups such as the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. This coercion to follow the teaching of the only begotten daughter was never taught to us by the late Reverend Sun Myung Moon, nor his successor, Dr. Yeonjin Preston Moon. Young people of Asia cannot allow this to progress. This show is to protest to the DC court to immediately dismiss the case of the unification movement. How can you tell us that what we believe as providential is not? How can you favor the only begotten daughter movement of Mrs. Hak Jahan Moon as providential and has the right over the foundation laid by the Reverend Sun Myung Moon? Please, DC Court, protect our right to believe. Please do not meddle with our right to believe.
Moving forward, it is indeed a pleasure to have with us one of the founding members of Right to Believe International, an organization duly recognized in the US and has magnetized professional and youth of the world to stand in the protection of right to believe. Ladies and gentlemen, youth of Asia and the world, let us welcome Mr. Kimihira Miyake.
Thank you for having me again, Asia region. It's been a tremendous pleasure and honor to represent Right to Believe to the Asian continent. And thank you, Dr. Zablan, for your opening statement. And I'm really grateful to come back on today. I wanted to bring back the points that were shared last week about what are the main issues at hand. What's going on in DC is very, very problematic. And it has not just implications in the US, but has significant implications around the world. So let's discuss those main issues first again. So the first main issue is what if the government tells you that you are wrong in what you believe in? Again, I'll mention that again. What if the government is telling you that you are wrong in what you believe to be true, especially if it comes to your religious convictions? Second point, what if the government not only tells you that you are wrong, but they are punishing you for what you believe in? So this is the second point. The government is punishing you for your beliefs. Third point, what if there is a hostile group using the court system to bully your group into submission, to get you to believe in their belief system? Again, what if there is a hostile group using the court to bully your group into submission, to get you to believe in their belief system? These are tremendously dangerous precedents. The reason why we're bringing this case to your attention and we're bringing out these facts to the global community is that this case, the decisions of this case will make dangerous precedents for all faiths. So if you think about precedents, then future cases will point to what decisions are made here, and they will base their decision on this one. So if the court is choosing sides and choosing winners and losers based on their interpretation of theology, structure, and succession of a religious entity, and the court is deciding that, then this is setting the precedent of how they will deal with future cases. And they will use this case as a reference, as a base for the decisions on future cases. So this affects all people of faith with all religious interpretations. In this case, as Dr. Zablan pointed out, it's a clear schism, a clear religious schism. And there's clear evidence that one side is using the court to intimidate, punish, and in essence, coerce a minority religious community in a new religious movement. This case is showing clearly that this religious entity is using the court to intimidate another group. So the precedent that this sets for any religion or faith-based organization is that there's going to be a hostile takeover or using the court to persecute one's religion and to ensure that they are silenced. Using the court to punish, to bully, and to silence another religious interpretation, a religious community. So lastly, this will set a dangerous precedent for any faith-based organization or social service that is motivated by religious purpose. This is very dangerous for any organization that's serving what they believe to be a religious purpose. So the court is meddling in a religious schism, a religious dispute, and the court is allowing itself to be used by a religious entity to bully another into submission. These are dangerous precedents, and that's why we are standing up. That's why we're fighting back, because we don't want these precedents to be set, and we want to ensure that all people have the right to believe, that all people have the right to exercise freely their religious convictions. And that's why I'm grateful to be able to join you all today in this meaningful discussion this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miyake. Mr. Miyake, for such an in-depth explanation of what's going on in the DC court. And those three basic questions that you have thrown in this discussion for tonight are very important. And I would like to go to our guests for tonight and give them these questions if they have some ideas on what is in their mind when they were listening to these questions that you have just thrown in this discussion tonight.
Yes. What is the status of?
Yes, Ms. Jinto Canal.
I would like to ask one question. So, what is the status of Judge Laura Cordero's reappointment? This is question for Kimi Hiraz.
Yes. So as mentioned last week, again, thank you for your letters to the commission. This commission was supposed to be a commission that oversaw judges to be reappointed for another term. And another term for the judges in DC are 15 more years. Although the commission, as I mentioned last time, recognized 5,000 messages, they did not hear our message, meaning they did not hear what we were trying to convey. And we were making sure that the commission understood that Judge Cordero is not fit to be a judge because of how she decided on this case. I made a video on the commission report, and you can definitely look for it on our website and also YouTube pages. But it really goes into depth of what the commission got wrong. What the commission did is actually they confirmed that Judge Laura Cordero was well qualified as a judge. So imagine that there's a judge that is deciding winners and losers in a religious matter. And effectively, she is discriminating against one religious interpretation over another. She is deciding the theology, structure, and succession of the religious movement, the religious entity, the unification movement. Therefore, she has violated the First Amendment, our First Amendment rights. So Judge Cordero, unfortunately, the commission actually qualified her to be serve another 15 years. But it's showing very clearly that the judicial system right now needs reform. There's tremendous oversight that's needed over these commissions. Because if you read the commission report, Judge Cordero actually cited in a personal statement this case specifically as the reason why she's qualified to serve another 15 years. Can you imagine that? She decided to use this case that is still going on, that she made this wrong judgment, and she's using it as a reference to say that she's qualified to serve. I think that is really, and the commission accepted that, but there's no oversight over this commission. So it's really a tremendous travesty, tremendously unjust situation. So that's why we're making our messages public. We are if you notice on the websites and on the social media pages, we're becoming very active because we wanted to settle this matter very privately because we knew it was a religious matter. This is a religious dispute, but now we're making this very public. What happened within the unification movement? What exactly people had to go through, and that the Family Federation has diverted from the teachings that were and the founding purposes as laid out by the founder, Reverend Sun Myung Moon. So we are fighting back, and we definitely are really encouraged by Asia's support and enthusiasm to continuously get involved. Thank you for your question.
I have a follow-up question on that. I cannot understand why in spite that there was a letter coming from RTB President Mr. Howard Self explaining those points. As far as I know, there were 3 or 4 points on the report to the White House on the reappointment of Judge Laura Cordero as highly recommendable, and we made those points not to be true. So, are there results on that letter submitted to the commission?
So President Howard Self did, in fact, make his letter public, as you mentioned. So please look at the website for the letter that he wrote to President Trump. President Trump has been an avid supporter of religious freedom, not just for the United States, but also for people all over the world. As you might know, that foreign policy for the US is shifted to also focus on the protection of religious freedom for people around the world as a US interest, which is very encouraging. But there are a lot of concerns, even in America, related to the fight for our basic rights, related to our right to believe. And our President Howard Self did approach and did talk to the executive director of the commission. And because of that, the commission members had to review his letter. They had to review what factually they got wrong in terms of their evaluation of Judge Cordero. Unfortunately, what they actually came back to our President Howard Self, right to believe, and they actually made the conclusion that they can't do anything about it. The decision is made, and that is ridiculous because it's showing very clearly that there's no oversight, there's no accountability, and the system itself is in question of reform. So we did approach the commission, and we're looking to see. He also sent another letter to them to ask very fundamental questions, and we're looking to see how they respond. Every month they meet, so we're making sure that we continuously can get answers straight. But we are making sure that we stay focused on what really is important, which is the case is still going on. And Judge Anderson is actually the one who is looking at the case. And she has to understand that this case is religious in nature, and she cannot repeat what Judge Cordero has decided. That's why it's continuously important for us to get our voices out there. And that's why we're utilizing any means possible, traditional media as well as social media. Thank you for your question, Dr. Suppan.
Thank you very much, Kimihara. Let me turn on to our guest for tonight to ask them why they are standing in support to Dr. Hyunjin Preston Moon. The guest can answer one by one. I'll repeat. Why?
Can we start with Miss Jintu Kanal? Last Saturday, we always had the only lady at the end of the other guests. So maybe this time, ladies first.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and greetings from Nepal. Yeah, mm, we have just listened so many things what is going on in the DC court case. So I would like to give the some small comment about the DC courts first. So to talk about the DC court case, the decision which is made by the Judge Cordero is totally unfair, and I'm very disheartened it, and it is completely violation of the First Amendment, and I think the court should not interfere the religious matter. As we know, yeah, the USA is the country with highly practices of democracy, and it is considered the model nation for the democracy practices. So this is the big question for the democracy of USA. So religious freedom means respect the belief of others. This is our fundamental right. So the decision which is made by Judge Cordero is really disappoint the so many people in the world, I think. And so to protect the religious freedom and the human rights and prosperity of the humanity, the case should be dismissed, and otherwise it makes the great damage in the world level. So I would like to give the small example for my own country, Nepal. So under the constitution of Nepal, Nepal is a secular state. So we have freedom to practice our own beliefs. And even though the small country, but we have the wide diversity, and diversity in natural geographically, and diversity in multi ethnics, and the religion and the language. Even though we are we have the big harmony, and Nepal is a big example of the religious tolerance. So even though the small country, we are practicing our best to protect our right to believe, then what about the USA and America? It's really surprise for me. So please think about this. Uh, so as well as the question which is asked to me, like why we are involving and supporting the Dr. Henjen Christian Moon. Yeah. So really it's our very great honor to be the work with the dynamic leader like Dr. Henjen Moon. So last time it's a very great honor, and we could receive Dr. Henjin Moon in Nepal the year 2010. So at that time it was the great event we could organize, and at that time he gave the very precious speech to realize the one family under God. So he gave the challenge for the youth to be the owner of the nation. So this is the great vision, and our youth, not only the one country, the whole over the whole youth receiving the very great impact from our Dr. Henjin Christian Moon. So we are very thankful for him. He's a great leader, and he always desperately working to raise the moral and innovative leaders for the world. And so he is our inspiration. And in order to implement his vision, one family under God, so we are engaging and the three focuses areas like interfaith, family, and the service. And uh, I I would like to go in the beginning. So from the beginning, Dr. Henjin Moon is always aligned with his father, Reverend Moon, his vision and the mission, and taking all ownership and working desperately to realize the vision of one family under God. So I believe that Dr. Henjin Christian Moon is a true legitimate heir and successor of his father, Reverend Moon. And he's a, he's a model and the example for the nation, for the all the world. So he's desperately working for the all humanity, to save the all the humanity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kanal. Piyush, would you like to follow next now? Piyush from India.
Yeah, hello everyone. First of all, I would like to say thank you so much for all the participants or the host members. Uh, and it is very grateful for me to be a part of this discussion. I would like to say something about the freedom of religion in various countries. Uh, First of all, if the status of religious freedom across the world varies from country to country, it will be it it might be it might be different from in India or in Africa, or a little uh, difference would definitely will be there. And most countries in Africa, if I talk about Africa, then in Africa, the freedom of religion legally established that is the right confirmed to all individuals. The extent to which this is enforced in practice varies greatly from country to country. If I talk about the Asia in which India is there, some countries have anti-discrimination laws and others have anti-blasphemy laws. Legal religious discrimination is present in many countries in Asia. If I talk about India, many sort of violences have happened because of just religion, based on just religion. And virtually every country in Europe legally established the freedom of religion for people living in the country, but several countries routinely fail to implement these laws at a local level. When we go to the locally, then the government, even the government fails to implement these laws, this freedom of religion laws. And if I talk about America, every country in South and North America includes a provision for the freedom of religion in its constitution, like India. So I will say that religious freedom is not about anyone's religion, while it is all about freedom. And freedom of religion is considered by many people and most of the nations to be a fundamental human right. So, freedom of religion in India is a fundamental right. Uh, Obviously, everyone knows about these Article 25 to 28 of the Constitution of India. So, however, there have been numerous incidents of religious intolerance that resulted in riot, violence. uh, Few famous, if I say few famous violence or riots in India, I will say 1984 Sikh genocide in Delhi, 1990 anti-Hindu riots in Kashmir, Gujarat riots, very famous riots in 2002. These all riots, and one more that is in 2008, that is anti-Christian riots in Odisha. So uh, all the riots happened because of what happened because of just religion basis. So all persons are equally, I will say that my point of view that all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice and propagate religion. You also have the right to put your thoughts and beliefs into action. This could include your right to wear even religious clothing, the right to talk about your belief, or take part in religious worship. So public authorities should not stop you practicing your religion without very good reason. So this is my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Piyush. Can we hear from the Philippines, Mr. Jason Villasin?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to greet everyone here and also our viewers. Thank you very much for inviting me in this segment and also for recognizing the power and the role of young people in protecting our right to believe and religious freedom. I came here representing thousands of young people in the Philippines who supported this fight. Allow me to share my humble opinion on and stand on this issue. But before that, let me just give you a little background of my life and my life of faith and how I began to engage on this cause. Actually, my parents' hometown is in Cebu, a place known as the Queen City of the South. It was branded like that because of its beauty manifested in nature and its huge potential in terms of economy and infrastructure. However, I was born in a place called Tondo in Manila. Unfortunately, this place is the most scary place in the Philippines because this is where the gangster, robbers, and drug addicts usually belong. But after quite some time, we were forced to evacuate that place and move to another village because of the bad situation. Bulacan is the place where I grew up and learned about life's happiness and challenges. My family is not well off to send me in a good school, and we were struggling to survive financially. Nevertheless, I still managed to finish my high school as a working student in the academy. Driven by my desire to help my family, I grabbed the opportunity and the possibility to get a scholarship to enter into a college. That's when I met a youth organization, an organization established by the late Reverend Sun Myung Moon. They helped me and assisted me to enter into a university. I am very happy and hopeful during that time. Yet, little did I know that I was just facing the starting point of my life's journey. As time goes by, many things change and develop. My understanding about life's purpose began to grow, especially when I heard about Reverend Sun Myung Moon's teaching. I became closer to God. I began to appreciate more my life, my family, and other people. I learned that the essence of life is to live for the sake of others, that God is in deep sorrow because of the problems of the world, and He needs us to make this world a better place for His children. And so I became a missionary for this cause. That was the turning point of my life. And after that, until now, I'm trying to stay true to my commitment and promise. That's why I cannot just let my sacrifice and the sacrifices of my fellow members go in vain because of this problem. That is why I'm here to support the great cause of the Right to Believe campaign. Here, we are talking about religious freedom. And when we talk about religious freedom, we are talking about religion and God. I think we can all agree that we cannot exclude God in the picture if we are talking about religious freedom, because God is the heart of all religion. So let's go back once again and let's try to recall why God created human beings and established all these types of religion in the world. I think if we reflect deep within our hearts, we can find the answer that the very reason why God started to create is that He wanted to experience joy and happiness and to share that love, joy, and happiness to all the created beings, especially to us, His children. That's why He did not create us as robots or puppets, but with freedom and free will to follow God and reciprocate with Him genuinely. Unfortunately, this freedom brought our first human ancestor to fall away from Him, destroying our bond and relationship with Him as our parent. But I strongly believe that through this freedom of choice and by having the right to believe on something, we can restore our relationship and connection to God, our parent. Isn't it that this is the primary goal of all religion? to reconnect us to the Creator God, just like science and technology progress in time and has brought a lot of contribution to human beings to enjoy an easy and comfortable life. Historically speaking, religion is also on the process of progress, playing an important role and mission to eliminate our spiritual ignorance and restore our spiritual consciousness and relationship with the Creator. And this process is protected by the First Amendments and cited in the Declaration of Independence that no government can attack, suppress, and impede any religious groups or individuals in the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So, to suppress our religious freedom means stopping our effort to go back to God, to reconnect with God, relate with God, and worship God according to the dictates of our conscience and understanding. In my case, I find my way, the truth, and the things that I need to do in order to improve my spiritual life and relationship to God through the teachings of Reverend Sun Myung Moon. I dedicated my youth in practicing and following his ideals and teachings. As early as 18 years old, I joined him and supported him on his mission in realizing his great vision of one family under God in any way I can as a young person. But seeing the reality and the direction of the unification movement or the family federation, I can say that they are not heading towards the original dream of Reverend Moon of creating an organization beyond any denomination. Instead, the family federation became church-centered and self-serving, and they no longer uphold the true teachings and ideals of Reverend Moon in many respects. That is why I choose to support Dr. Yunjin Preston Moon, his eldest living son, because I can see clearly on his work and accomplishment that he is continuing the work of his father. But now, in spite of the effort of Dr. Yunjin Moon to protect the legacy of his father, he is being mischaracterized and thrown with malicious and wrongful accusation. That's why, in behalf of thousands of young people who follow Reverend Moon and Dr. Sun Myung Moon here in the Philippines, we feel so upset and violated to the action of the Washington, D.C. court for the interference that they are doing in our faith. How can a judge or a court decide who is right and who is wrong in this schism that is happening on our movement without understanding its history, teachings, and ideology? In the first place, they don't have the right to meddle in any religious affair. So we could not understand why they are doing this. In one sense, this is a very dangerous precedent for all the different faiths of the world. That's why we would like to support this campaign in protecting religious freedom and our right to believe. And I have faith that as young people, we can actively participate on this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Finally, the earliest comer would be the last to speak. Let's welcome Mr. Dinesh. You are still muted, Dinesh. Dinesh, you are still muted.
Hello.
Now we have you.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to give my thanks to right to believe and all the panelists to give me the opportunity to keep my view about the case of Washington D.C. So the long history of India evidence its purpose nature bent toward the discoveries and researches of internal truths, but not toward the particular religion. Emergence of the religion were resulted because of preserving the culture and faith from the several inventors. The cultures of India didn't hurt anybody's belief and accepted them as exactly as they were. There are plenty of reasons behind the supporting Hinjan Mun Sahib and his foundation, and also the right to believe campaign. Religion and faith of community plays a role of powerful positive force in prevention, management, and resolutions of the conflict. This word has really this word has really lost its glory, and a very few numbers of the leaders, including Mr. Moon, have promised us the happiness and peace. Mr. Moon has characterized freedom of religion by a diversity of religious beliefs and practices. Right to believe include the culture of tolerance and the culture of intolerance. It's indispensable for the establishment of peace where everyone can live a better life. There has been an eyewitness proof that if we speak of peace and tolerance with reference to religion and right to believe, then it will have a vast impact on the community. The people will surely come forward and practice the fundamental of the right way of life and bring peace with them and as a whole family and community. If we see the core teaching of Dr. Moon, it has been the meaning of uniting or joining people, means of uniting and joining people. His teaching doesn't support conflict and disunity. He believes in unity in diversity. The conflict has arrived only due to some derelict leaders with selfish nature, which has brought rivalry rather than the brotherhood. But the need of time, but the need of the time is that the spiritual awakening is very essential to understand Dr. Moon teaching and his philosophy toward the humanity, and it's our responsibilities to tell the world Dr. Moon is here to bring peace and harmony in this world. We are inspired by his social activities, work, philosophy, and motivational speeches. He is man of action and a man of visionary. We find very few leaders in this world with a gigantic quality of a fusion of verb and verbal. He is the one with the such qualities and moving ahead to transparency and crystal clear ideas. Our country has greatly benefited from the various initiatives Dr. Moon has started. He especially gave the young people vision, inspiration, and passion to dream a big life for the greater good. How can the court condemn and to stop the work of such a valuable global leader that is investment so much in all of us? This is injustice. The fundamental duty of international court is to ban those bodies who are spreading violence, riots, wars, masquerades, and carnage, including those who signifies only their beliefs and disrespects others, but not to ideology of Mr. Moon, because his very primary aim is to spread happiness, prosperity, unification, and peace. Thanks, all.
Thank you, Mr. Aman. I would like to go back because these are very important questions given to us by our guest speaker from RTV tonight. What if the government is telling you that what you believe is not right, it's wrong? And not only telling you that it's wrong, it's punishing you. So what will be your stand on this? I would like to throw this question to Mr. Aman. If you are in that situation, what will be your opinion on this?
Yeah, this is, if court says this is a punishable, this is not a democracy. Democracy means to respect all the belief and all the beliefs. When we are working on peace, we are working on solution. If a if a constitution giving the right, even in India, Article 25, 26, 27, 28, it is giving the rights. But in social in the grassroots, social right is missing. Only Dr. Moore's teaching is giving the social right.
There you
Everyone
are.
can, yeah, everyone can see, everyone can get the true parent, true children, true neighbor, true nation. And that this teaching is giving the social rights, social rights. So it will be the main solution. It is a work for the solution, for the peace and harmony. So how can the court, how can the court can say कि we can punish, while they will support our mission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dinesh. As I was saying, there you are. If the government is telling you that your faith is wrong and punishing you for that, this is not democracy.
This is not
And
democracy.
exactly. And
Yeah.
this is exactly my point here. America is champion of democracy. And for America to implement such punishment and implement such judgment on one group in a schism is very dangerous, because this is not what America is for. And America is a champion of democracy for the world. And even our constitution in the Philippines, as I stated in one of the series, our constitution is even patterned from the American Constitution. And that's how much we respect American democracy. And that is why this is really a very dangerous precedence if we will not stop this and we will not do something about this injustice which is taking place in the DC court. Do you have anything to say about that, Mr. Kimihira?
Very good comments, Dinesh. I really appreciate it. And also for everyone's remarks on wanting to really stand for what you believe to be right, but not just what you believe to be right, but standing up to make sure that these precedents are not set for the global stage. It's I think everyone's really touching on a really key point, that if we let something like this take place, if people in positions of power and authority are determining our most basic rights, then we're opening a floodgate where we're eroding our religious freedom, our ability to freely exercise our conscience, and we're allowing other people to dictate what is determined to be right and wrong. And that is what I think everyone is really catching on, and I really feel like everyone's touching upon in their remarks. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, our founding member of Right to Believe, Kimira, and also thanks to all the guest speakers, youth speakers. We have come again to the end of our fruitful discussion tonight. Before we end, I would like to remind everybody interested to follow and support. Please follow us on our Facebook account, Twitters, and YouTube. You can interact and send us your stories, and our staff will attend to your questions and queries.
And before we finally close our segment for tonight, let's have any final words from the guest. Would you like to start, Mr. Aman?
Thanks, sir. Thanks for everything. And we have to fight fight against this injustice, because democracy means mutual regard and tolerance. And if Washington DC code is not not is on his path, so this is injustice, and we have to stand against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aman. Jason from the Philippines.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting us once again for this youth segment. And rest assured that the youth here in the Philippines is always ready to support our cause in protecting our right to believe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Miss Canal, please.
Thank you so much. We must protect our right to believe. It is the fundamental human rights. So if any action is done by choice, it's more effective and it is more efficiency, and it gives the action more important. So the youth of the nation must understand deeply about the right to believe, I think, because they are the hope for the future of the nation. So if we protect our right to believe, our beliefs, then it protects our creativity, uh, our way of life, whatever we could do ourselves as the point of view of goodness, righteousness, truth, and universal principle and values. So I'm very glad to participate in this movement. Thank you so much, all our guests and our respected leaders. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miss Canal. Let's go to Mr. Tripathi.
Yeah, I would like to thank everyone. And another paragraph I would like to add that indeed the issue is very serious. This issue is really very serious. And in order to ensure that everyone enjoys the right to freedom of religion or belief, uh, I would put my country that India needs to put in place an urgent and comprehensive response. Cases of religiously motivated violence or violence against religious minorities need to be fully investigated by the government of India and brought to justice. Victims of such riots need to be provided with assistance. And at last, I would like to add that yes, as Mr. Jason, my friend Jason said that without knowing movement, movements, history, or teachings, what is right or what is wrong, it cannot be decided by a court. So, thanks everyone, and we'll meet next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tripathi. Finally, let's go to our main guest speaker for tonight for his final words.
I'm glad to be joining you today. As we were prepping for the live, I mentioned that today is a very significant holiday for our nation, which is our Independence Day. And America has a rich history since its founding in terms of aspiring for certain ideals. And actually, very interestingly, the signers of the Declaration of Independence actually had to decide if they wanted to continue to live under tyranny and stay as the status quo as the rest of the world of the being under oppression, or that they will set a new trend and set a new precedent of freedom for all people. Under the Declaration, it says that all people are created equal, endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights. And this is what they fought for. And interestingly enough, especially on this youth edition of the Right to Believe series, it is the young people that fought for their freedom. And actually, there are a lot of young people who are also part of, who are recognized as America's founding fathers. So we're taking our stand right now because we're fighting back to make sure that the government and the court does not continue its tyranny against religious community. And we'll fight tooth and nail to ensure the religious freedom of all people all around the world. So thank you for having me again on this very momentous day.
Thank you, Mr. Kimihira, and my good friend, Dr. Kisher.
USA, America, they claim, and then many times I hear that people of America, they proclaim that they have the religious freedom and they protect the religious freedom by their own constitutions. But it looks like that what is happening below their nose, they are not care about it. And we know very clearly from this discussion today that Judge Laura Cordero, she has involved herself, this legal authority, into this religious matter. And also she has decided that what part is good and what part is not right, and what is right, what is wrong. That's why the US government or authorities must not reappoint Laura Cordero for the next term. And second, that the next judge should dismiss this case. Then only the world will know that America is standing for the right to believe. And our team and our youth are pursuing this matter from all over the world. That's why we will not stop unless they correct their constitutions or what the constitution gives them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kisher. For my final word for tonight, the world has always been looking up to America, if not as a father nation, an elder brother nation. For many reasons, I love America because America has fought for human rights, became a model for democracy, and has set tremendous efforts to support many developing countries in the world, and even protected and defended the freedom of many countries in the world. But today, as we are discussing, it is so heartening to know the reality in the DC court that in spite of their mistake in making a highly recommendable comment for Judge Laura Cordero, the commission did not want to change their stand. The commission did not want to change their assessment about Judge Laura Cordero. I feel sorry about this. At the same time, America standing as an elder brother to the world, what will America show to the world if they will not correct this mistake? So I just want to believe, as my own position, that Judge Laura Cordero did not truly understand that this is a religious case, the case of the unification movement. So a message to Judge Anderson, please do not repeat the same mistake that Judge Laura Cordero have done. Please understand carefully that this is a schism, a religious schism in the unification movement. And the DC court must step out from this schism of the unification movement. Thank you very much to all our guests tonight, to my co-host, Dr. Kisher, and to our main guest speaker, Mr. Miyake, and all from India, Nepal, Mongolia, Philippines, all the young people there whose hopes are with RTB to fight for their religious freedom, and whose hope is for America to reclaim and never lose that position as a father nation, as an elder nation for the world, protecting their right to believe and protecting their human rights. Thank you very much to all for joining us, and hope to see you again next Saturday for the next segment of Right to Believe for the Youth.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you, all the
Thank
viewers.
you so much.